From the most disciplined of athletes to the ones who just can't turn down a tasty meal, MMA superstars, just like the rest of us, are known to gain and lose weight in ways that can sometimes be shocking to witness. Whether they're eyeing up a divisional switch-up or simply letting themselves go a bit between fights, these 10 fighters have managed to turn quite a few heads in 2021 with their changed physiques. This is the 10 most shocking UFC body transformations in 2021. Number 10. Nick Diaz. Nick Diaz's long-awaited return to the octagon was a mixed bag for the fans. Sure, we loved seeing this former welterweight great making the walk again, and in his bout with Robbie Lawler, he certainly had his moments. But there was no ways to listen to Nick speaking during fight week and not get the sense that he didn't truly want to be there. And when the time came to show up for the official weigh-ins, his physique made it seem like he hadn't been sticking to the infamous cardio workouts that had defined his best years. With a frame that was definitely a lot softer around the midsection than we're used to seeing, the only thing that kept Diaz competitive in his bout with Lawler was his extensive experience. His boxing, in moments, looked as sharp as ever. But on reflection, that wasn't the Nick Diaz of old, and I think a lot of us suspected as much as soon as we caught a glimpse of his body pre-fight. Number 9. Cody Garbrandt. The former UFC bantamweight champion, Cody Garbrandt, may have run into some problems with his fight IQ and chin during his later years at 135 pounds, but his conditioning and physical shape were never the issue. However, when he revealed that a move down to 125 pounds was on the cards, fans were left scratching their head as they wondered how No Love, who is by no means a smaller 135-pounder, would manage to make the flyweight cut work for him. When the first pictures emerged of this newly shredded Garbrandt ahead of his UFC 269 divisional debut, we were all left pretty stunned at just how little body fat Cody had left. Seriously, the guy has managed to make a really dramatic physical shift in a pretty short space of time. Only time will tell whether he will continue to fight in the UFC's lightest division, but if one thing can be said for certain, it's that Garbrandt is not slacking on his preparation, that's for sure. Number 8. Vitor Belfort. Though he has now cut ties with the UFC entirely, the former champion Vitor Belfort has cut an extremely jacked figure in 2021 since signing up with one championship. Indeed, a short appearance under the Triller Boxing to beat down the once great Evander Holyfield would follow, but after some noticeable changes in his physique after his TRT exemption was revoked, 2021 Belfort looks like he is back to his old self. Say what you want about how the absence of USADA has played into that, but judging off his most recent Instagram posts, Vitor, even at the grand old age of 44, looks jacked as hell. When you factor in years upon years of experience in MMA, if he gets the right matchups in one championship, we're likely going to see some vintage Vitor violence before too long. Whether you're a major supporter of USADA or not, there's no denying that a jacked Belfort is a good Belfort, and all things considered, this late portion of his combat sports career, at the very least, promises to be a lot of fun. Number 7. Luke Rockhold. Luke Rockhold's post-UFC title run has been pretty disastrous at times. From getting battered by Michael Bisping to a brutal KO defeat at the hands of Yoel Romero, it just seems as though the Rockhold of old could not be further away. And when Luke revealed that he was set to move up to 205 pounds to test the waters against the future champ Jan Blachowicz, his physical figure seemed to be off, like he was carrying a bit too much weight to be properly successful in his new division. However, this year, despite withdrawing from his matchup against Sean Strickland due to his injury, this former middleweight great seems to be looking a lot closer to his physical prime than we've ever seen in some time. Sure, there have been questions about his motivation to continue competing in MMA, but if the eye test is anything to go by, Luke Rockhold is taking his return to the octagon very seriously. Whether he can avoid some of the pitfalls that dogged his worst moments is anyone's guess, but there's no doubt that he looks the part. Number 6. Jose Aldo. Jose Aldo's bantamweight success has made him the poster boy for how to drop in weight correctly. And though he definitely had some creases to iron out in his first few 135-pound matchups in 2021, Aldo really started to look like a natural bantamweight athlete. And in his showdowns against Pedro Munoz, and Rob Font in particular, the cardio he showcased definitely left fewer doubts about his future in the division. Even in his mid-30s, Aldo looks like he's in the physical prime of his career, which is crazy when you think of his decade-long run of dominance as the greatest featherweight of all time. His resurgence at 135 pounds has been one of the feel-good stories of 2021, and after being made the butt of many jokes after his embarrassing 13-second knockout loss to Conor McGregor, it's just nice to see this legend receiving the respect he deserves from a new generation of fans. Hard work pays off, folks. Remember, if you're enjoying our content and want to see more, be sure to leave a like before subscribing to the channel so you don't miss any of our weekly uploads. Number 5. Alistair Overeem. Another man who left the UFC this year is the former title challenger Alistair Overeem, who after suffering defeat in his final UFC bout, returned to his old sport of kickboxing under the Glory banner in the hopes of recapturing old success. And just like Vitor Belfort, once he moved away from the watchful eye of USADA, fans were quick to notice his dramatic physical change, as he once again started to bring back memories of his famous Overeem period. He hasn't yet made his debut for Glory, but even though his chin is not what it once was, there's little doubt over Overeem's abilities as a striker, something he used to extend his run as an elite UFC heavyweight far longer than most people would have believed possible. A legend of the sport, and one who may still have a few tricks up his sleeve. Number 4. Paddy Pimblett. Paddy Pimblett is actually quite proud of the fact that he gets pretty out of shape in between fights. With a passion for unhealthy fast food that can only really be topped by his love of fighting, Pimblett does always seem to bring it all together when it counts, cutting a far more shredded figure by the time he hits the scales on fight week. Maybe this will change in the future, as the demands of fighting in the UFC's best division grows greater, but for now, Paddy the Baddy doesn't seem to mind adding a few extra pounds around the waist whenever he's not required inside the cage. What most of you might not know is that Paddy actually spent the majority of his early fighting years at 145 pounds. And well, it's pretty safe to say that he won't be weighing as a featherweight anytime soon. Number 3. Paulo Costa. The entire light heavyweight switch-up controversy that followed Paulo Costa's octagon return against Marvin Vettori was one of the strangest MMA stories of the year. Costa, who famously told the world that he drank a few glasses of wine the night before his title matchup against Israel Adesanya, pretty much refused to make weight and forced Vettori to accept the fight at 205 pounds. What's crazier still is that Costa's cardio looked pretty incredible over the course of that 5-round war, as he found ways to recover and conserve his power well into the bout's later stages. Sure, it was as unprofessional a move as they come, and Vettori had every right to be angry as hell. But when the fight night came around, both men clearly did enough to earn each other's respect on at least some level. Will Costa fight at middleweight again? It's hard to say, but this bulkier, less toned version of Borrachina is still very much as formidable a powerhouse as they come. And according to Dana White, his next matchup will without question be signed for 205 pounds. Number 2. Conor McGregor. With reports claiming that he now weighs as high as 185 pounds, the former featherweight Conor McGregor seems to be putting in some hard work, even as he attempts to bounce back from the horrific injury that he sustained in his last outing. To say that he looks more jacked than ever would be putting it lightly. Is he genuinely considering another move to welterweight, or is he simply keeping himself busy while not being able to spar? We tend to think it's less of the former and more of the latter, but even if his next matchup will more than likely be at 155 pounds, you'd have to imagine that the Irishman will be cutting down significantly before he gets into his next fight camp. With cardio issues in the past that have led to some of his worst moments inside the cage, we'd urge you not to get your hopes up of seeing Conor looking like this 6 months from now, that's for sure. Number 1. Jon Jones. And finally, we come to perhaps the most dramatic body transformation on our list. As the former light heavyweight champion Jon Jones attempts to put on some serious bulk in order to finally make his move to the heavyweight division. Of course, his personal problems and legal issues have been rampant in recent times. But if we're to judge him solely off his training videos, Jon is clearly going about this divisional switch-up the correct way, taking his time to get used to this new physical frame. With many tantalizing matchups available for him in this new division, all signs seem to point to a heavyweight debut in 2022. And for our money, it could well be the most anticipated matchup of the year. Francis Ngannou has an incredibly tough challenge in front of him, as he hopes to defend his title against his former training partner turned rival, Ciryl Gane. And even though UFC gold is on the line, both men will also know that the opportunity to stand opposite one of the greatest fighters of all time will undoubtedly be presented as a potential fight for the victor. And that will just about do it for this video. Again, if you enjoyed today's video and want to see more, be sure to leave a like and a comment before subscribing to the channel so you can stay up to date with all of our latest uploads. Thanks for watching.